Welcome to the News El Salvador SV podcast. In this space for conversation and reflection, where we explore current topics from El Salvador and the world together.
Find US on your favorite platform. Search for us as News El Salvador SV.
You can make your contributions through PayPal, and we have now enabled a link if you wish to support us through other means. Invite us to a coffee, leave tips, leave a review, communicate, subscribe, find information about the podcast we are publishing, and other information.
You will find the link in the description of this content.
Check it out. You can make any comments there, and it has many functions that you might find interesting.
Remember to follow us, share, and comment.
Thank you very much.
Welcome. That's what allows us to keep doing what we're doing.
It is. And today, that analysis is absolutely critical. We are diving deep into, a really dense stack of sources covering national developments in El Salvador alongside some major global shifts.
A lot to unpack.
A lot. Our mission here is to meticulously explore these recent events and, provide the essential context you need to understand the forces shaping everything from local governance to international finance.
And from an analytical perspective, my focus is really twofold. First, we need to establish the macroeconomic implications of domestic policy, especially where security and fiscal health intersect. And second, to connect those local patterns to the turbulence we're seeing globally.
Particularly in tech and commodities.
Exactly. We're looking for underlying patterns, assessing risks, and really trying to gauge the impact on investment confidence.
Okay, let's begin immediately then. At the national level, let's focus on the continuing security strategy and the legislative and administrative shifts happening in El Salvador. We can start with the sustained security state.
Makes sense.
So the legislature has once again affirmed its commitment to the current security strategy. We have confirmation that the Assembly approved the 45th extension of the regime of exception.
The 45th. So it's really not an exception anymore. It's becoming the default state.
That's a great way to put it. It's not just a formality, right?
Yeah.
This underscores a real political consensus to maintain this extraordinary measure.
It's the established framework.
It is. And this ongoing measure is also coupled with some very specific local operational commitments. The government is reinforcing security efforts in critical zones, and the one that stands out is Reparto la Campanera.
Okay.
And the underpinning for this particular effort is a significant administrative action, the transfer of an immovable property.
A property transfer. From who to who?
It moved from the Social Housing Fund, the FSV, directly to the Ministry of Security and Justice.
Wow. Okay, that specific reallocation of state capital is extremely telling.
How so?
Well, when a government opts to transfer tangible state assets, especially from an entity like the Social Housing Fund, which is, traditionally linked to social welfare and development.
Right, building houses.
Exactly. And moves it to the Ministry of Security, it signals that security is the undisputed highest operational and financial priority.
It's not just about budget line items.
No,
not
at all.
Yeah.
It shows the government isn't just funding the security state through normal allocations, but is actively leveraging its existing institutional capital to support these operations.
So what are the financial implications of that kind of sustained, resource-intensive approach?
Well, we have to analyze it. The continuous extension of the regime, now at its 35th iteration, forces us to assess the opportunity cost.
Meaning, what's not getting done because of this?
Precisely. What housing, what social programs or infrastructure projects are being deferred or, maybe even canceled because the capital, both financial and institutional, is perpetually directed toward maintaining this high operational tempo.
The theory, I suppose, is that improved security boosts confidence and attracts investment.
And that can be true. It's vital in the short term. But the long-term sustainability really hinges on whether that stability translates into foundational economic growth. If the sustained cost of security crowds out essential development spending,
then you could have a problem down the line.
You could. Community stability and long-term economic prospects could actually suffer. It's a very delicate balance to watch.
Okay, moving from security assets to administrative structure, we're also tracking a profound centralization process.
Right.
Our sources indicate a major shift, where more than 20 service institutions are now being consolidated and placed under the direct control of the executive branch.
20. That's a fundamental restructuring of the state apparatus.
It is. It's a clear move toward greater central control, and this trend is manifesting in several key areas. For instance, the creation of the National Hospital Network, the Red de Hospitales Nacional. It centralizes healthcare under a unified structure. And furthermore, a significant legal reform now allows the director of the National Registry Center, the CNR, to simultaneously assume the presidency of the National Registry of Natural Persons, the RMPN.
So you're merging leadership over property and citizen identity registration.
Exactly. Concentrating control over these fundamental areas.
The intention behind this kind of mass centralization is usually efficiency. The idea is to reduce bureaucratic friction and speed up policy implementation.
But what are the risks?
Well, from a governance and fiscal perspective, there are immediate financial risks. Consolidated power requires exceptionally robust oversight to ensure efficient spending and prevent resource bottlenecks.
So a failure in one part of the system could cascade.
Massively. A failure in one centralized system, like that national hospital network, could have huge and immediate cascading effects across the entire service delivery chain.
Okay, let's shift focus from structure to future spending. The Treasury has formally requested a budget for the 2027 general elections.
And the number is?
$172.1 million.
Wow. $172.1 million. That is a massive figure that speaks directly to the fiscal weight of major democratic processes.
It is. When we talk about a figure of that magnitude, the expenditure requires meticulous scrutiny, especially given the high debt environment we'll be discussing.
It truly does. In a high-debt scenario, budgeting that much for a single event, even a mandatory one like an election, is an immense administrative and fiscal undertaking.
What does that mean for the state's finances?
It requires the state to ensure that current revenue streams are performing extremely well and that its cash flow management is executed flawlessly. Otherwise, you could create temporary liquidity crises elsewhere in the budget.
So this essential spending could still cause problems.
Absolutely. It exacerbates domestic financial risk simply due to its scale, and it raises questions about how much this might temporarily crowd out the private sector's access to domestic credit.
And to contextualize this upcoming electoral environment, the political party Vamos held its General Assembly recently.
Okay.
They've publicly stated that they are still analyzing whether or not they will participate in the 2027 presidential elections.
So they're undecided.
It suggests a period of intense internal deliberation for this opposition party, assessing the viability of mounting a campaign in the current political and security climate.
Which is understandable given everything we've just laid out.
Exactly. Now, moving into the functioning of the justice system, we're seeing some institutional modernization efforts. The Attorney General's Office, the FGR, has launched a new protocol.
A protocol for what?
Specifically designed to standardize and potentially improve the process for investigating sexual violence crimes.
That's a necessary step. Improving institutional response in these highly sensitive cases is crucial.
And alongside this procedural update, we have clear reports of aggressive judicial enforcement against serious offenses.
Right.
We noted the conviction of a priest sentenced to 15 years for the sexual assault of 2 children.
So holding individuals accountable regardless of their social standing.
That seems to be the message. And on a larger scale, the impact of the security strategy is being quantified by these mass convictions.
What kind of numbers are we talking about?
46 members of the MS-18 gang received condemnations that, when you add them all up, reached up to 397 years in prison.
397 years. That magnitude, those collective sentences, they speak volumes about the current state of judicial enforcement.
So what do you make of this combination? New protocols on one hand, massive sentences on the other.
Well, the combination of establishing new specialized protocols like the FGR's initiative and delivering these massive convictions is clearly intended to project institutional strength.
But is this seen universally as a legitimate move toward justice? Or does this intense enforcement come with a perceived cost?
And that is the critical question. From an economic perspective, consistent and transparent judicial action is vital for building institutional confidence.
Yeah.
That directly supports national economic health.
But the narrative is more complex.
It is. The potential downside risk is high. We have to report the counter-narratives here. Our sources highlight that women's groups are actively demanding the end of the regime of exception.
And what's their reasoning?
They allege a significant regression in rights, claiming that hundreds of, quote, innocent people have been detained under the current security measures.
So that creates serious social tension.
Exactly. Serious friction around the policy's legitimacy.
So if the social cost is perceived as this high, with reports of mass detentions of innocent people and these allegations, how does that affect long-term stability and ultimately the financial risk assessment of the country?
It's a major factor. If the justice system's perceived legitimacy is eroded by fears over due process, that erosion can outweigh the benefit of simply achieving high conviction numbers.
So it's not just about the final tally.
Not at all. Investors and citizens alike, they seek assurance that the legal framework is functional, protective, and predictable. If the current policies create a deep divide between perceived security and perceived justice, that friction can manifest as long-term instability.
So what's the bottom line here?
True economic stability hinges on the perceived legitimacy and fairness of the entire system, not just its enforcement capacity. The new protocols are a good step, but that effort has to be universally applied and transparently enforced to mitigate the allegations that are fueling this tension.
Okay, that's a perfect transition. Let's shift our analysis now to the core economic factors facing the nation, beginning with fiscal health.
Which leads directly from this discussion of resource allocation.
It does. Starting with the current debt landscape, the numbers are stark. They present an undeniable fiscal challenge. The key data point is this. For every $100 the economy generates, the government owes $90.
$90. That's a figure that demands attention. A debt-to-GDP ratio hovering near 90% signals a very, very complex fiscal position.
Unpack that for us. What does that 90% ratio actually mean?
It means that almost all of the country's national production is potentially required just to service or sustain the existing debt load.
And what are the primary immediate implications of operating with that level of debt?
Primarily, it presents several major hurdles. First, it significantly increases the risk premium for international borrowing.
So future credit becomes more expensive?
Far more expensive and more constrained. Second, it limits the government's fiscal space to respond to economic shocks or invest in productive public works.
Right.
And third, and this is perhaps most important for the average citizen, the relentless need for high revenue generation to service that debt. Well, it can contribute to inflationary pressures and directly impact the cost of living.
So it crowds out other spending.
It is the definition of crowding out necessary capital. When debt consumes such a large portion of output, it severely limits funds available for discretionary spending on education, health, and social improvements.
This high debt complexity then makes internal economic efficiency absolutely paramount.
It does. And in related news that highlights some operational challenges, the Sociedad de Mercados, the state entity managing public markets, has accumulated significant operational losses.
How much?
$5.2 million.
So, while that's small compared to the national debt,
It's symbolic. These internal losses suggest persistent inefficiencies in specific state-affiliated enterprises. Addressing these operational challenges is crucial for stabilizing the overall financial position and easing the systemic pressure of that 90% debt ratio.
okay, this fiscal pressure naturally leads us to look at how El Salvador is generating revenue through its trade sectors. And here we see a highly nuanced picture, especially in coffee exports.
This is always a fascinating sector to watch.
It is. On one hand, the volume of coffee exported has fallen to its lowest level in 3 decades.
3 decades since 1994.
Exactly. That is a severe and persistent production indicator.
It points to some deep structural issues.
Yet, and here's where it gets really interesting, the total income generated from that reduced volume actually increased significantly, specifically by 23%.
Okay, so less coffee, but more money. This contrast is a perfect example of how global market forces can temporarily mask critical domestic production problems.
So what's happening under the surface?
Well, the decline in volume suggests deep-seated agricultural issues. It could be climate vulnerability, aging coffee plants, a shift in land use, you name it. However, the sharp increase in income, despite exporting less product, indicates that producers are achieving a much higher value per pound.
And that's driven by what?
It's likely one of 2 factors, or a combination of both. Either a strong rally in global commodity prices due to international scarcity, or, and this is more encouraging, successful efforts by Salvadoran producers to access lucrative specialty markets.
The premium markets.
The premium international markets that pay a significant premium for high-quality, traceable coffee.
So while the income number is positive, it doesn't solve the long-term challenge of declining agricultural output.
Precisely. It provides temporary revenue relief, but it really emphasizes the agricultural sector's extreme sensitivity to international pricing. The underlying issue of production volume has to be addressed for sustainable, long-term trade stability.
Looking at other sectors, the trade picture is mixed. but shows, well, some overall resilience. Sales abroad for the textile industry decreased in 2025.
That's a key sector. That signals specific headwinds in what's traditionally been a robust manufacturing sector.
What could be behind that?
The textile sector decline could be due to several factors. Shifting global supply chains post-pandemic, maybe increased international labor competition from Asia, or potentially decreased external demand from key consumer markets, especially the United States.
But despite that specific manufacturing downturn, total Salvadoran exports actually increased.
Oh, interesting. By how much?
By $250 million up to October.
Okay, so that tells us that growth in other, perhaps less traditional export areas or services must have compensated for the textile industry's dip. It's a sign of some economic diversification.
And finally, on this front, we have to note the continued growth of remittances. Family remittances remain an absolutely critical stabilizing factor.
They're a vital source of foreign currency and direct household support.
And they continued their upward trajectory, increasing by 18.5% up to September.
18.5%. That is a massive injection of capital. The remittance growth is an essential component of the nation's financial stability, especially in balancing its external accounts. It insulates household consumption from some of the domestic pressures we've been talking about.
Like the high debt and inflation concerns.
Exactly.
Okay, let's turn now to policy designed to affect citizens and travelers directly. A recent measure provides tax relief for those entering the country.
Okay.
Visitors and returning citizens may now bring up to $3,000 in new goods and gifts into the country without incurring import taxes.
$3,000, that's a significant amount.
It is. And in related social policy, the anticipatory payment of the Christmas bonus for pensioners is being made a permanent fixture of the payment schedule.
So both policies are designed to inject spending power into the economy, but they operate very differently.
Oh, so?
The $3,000 tax exemption is a clear policy aimed directly at the migrant community. It encourages them to consume and carry higher value goods when they visit or return.
So it's a targeted effort to boost retail trade.
And inject foreign capital directly. It's essentially using trade policy to stimulate domestic consumption.
And the permanent Christmas bonus.
That, while a significant measure of social support, primarily impacts institutional financial management. Pension funds now have to systematically plan their liquidity and investment strategies around this permanent earlier distribution.
So it's a commitment that requires sustained adjustment.
It is. It
All right.
shifts the entire cash flow cycle for a significant portion of the population's retirement savings.
Finally, on the domestic front, we're observing essential service and infrastructure challenges. The national water utility announced a temporary water suspension in several districts of San Salvador.
For maintenance.
Yes, for necessary maintenance on the Torgas system. It just highlights the inherent vulnerability when key centralized infrastructure needs work. And simultaneously, on the environmental and local governance front, communities in Tecoluca are actively and vocally rejecting the construction of a sanitary landfill.
That local resistance introduces a specific economic friction.
Meaning delays and cost increases.
Exactly. While the need for modern waste management is undeniable for public health and urban stability, community resistance often translates into legal delays and cost overruns. This means essential public works are either significantly delayed or must be relocated at a higher expense, which ultimately adds back to the pressure on the state budget.
As we transition from the detailed analysis of the national economic landscape to pressing global affairs, we'll just pause for a crucial intermediate message.
Yes, and we want to remind you that your support is really the foundation that allows us to conduct these deep dives and provide this level of meticulous analysis. Remember the ways you can collaborate or donate through PayPal or by using the Bitcoin QR code.
And we also strongly encourage you to check the link provided in the description. This link serves as the central hub to review all the ways to support our work, access more of the content we're publishing, and provide comments or questions directly. Your contribution ensures the continuity of this essential service.
Absolutely. Okay, let's look at the global picture.
The global security environment remains a major concern, particularly in Eastern Europe. In Ukraine, the capital, Kyiv, was subjected to a major Russian missile attack.
One designed to cripple infrastructure.
Precisely. Reports specifically mention the use of Kh-47M2 Kinzhal ballistic missiles.
The Kinzhals. So these are the highly specialized, high-velocity, and notoriously difficult-to-intercept weapons.
They are, and they were directed against critical energy sites, specifically thermal power plants and the Kyiv hydroelectric power station.
The strategic choice to deploy those missiles against power generation facilities is significant. These weapons aren't used indiscriminately, they're reserved for high-value targets.
So what's the strategic intent?
Their speed and maneuverability stress Ukraine's air defense systems to the absolute limit. The intent is clear: to systematically dismantle Ukraine's energy grid ahead of the cold season. It exerts maximum pressure on both the civilian population and the state's ability to manage its resources. It's escalating the conflict through infrastructure warfare.
Okay, shifting sharply to the Americas now. Political tensions involving Venezuela and the United States continue to escalate.
Right.
The Maduro regime ordered airlines to resume connections within 48 hours following recent flight cancellations.
So that's an administrative show of force over international transport.
It is. And this action is set against the backdrop of sustained political pressure. We have to note the recent warning issued by former United States President Donald Trump to the Maduro regime.
What was the quote?
If we can do it the good way, fine. If it has to be the bad way, well, that too.
So the geopolitical volatility in both of these regions, Eastern Europe and South America, has immediate financial ripple effects globally. Well, the systemic attacks on Ukraine's energy infrastructure contribute to market instability. They affect global energy and commodity prices, which inevitably increases risk premiums for investors everywhere.
In Venezuela.
The ongoing tension between Venezuela, a major oil producer, and the United States remains a chronic, significant risk factor for global energy flows. Any perceived escalation like direct political threats or these punitive administrative actions can trigger spikes in oil prices and disrupt global supply chains.
So analysts are constantly factoring this in.
Constantly. It has to be part of every risk model.
Closer to the region, Honduras is currently facing high political tension as it prepares for elections. The country began the distribution of electoral material amidst this charged climate, which suggests real concerns about the security and fairness of the process.
And this is compounded by a socio-political dilemma, right?
This is. The prospect of electing another female president is juxtaposed with the country's significant lack of progress in achieving equal rights for women across society.
That's a profound paradox, and it deserves a deeper analysis. High political representation, like electing a female president, can signal progress.
But if it's only symbolic?
Exactly. If it doesn't translate into legislative and social change concerning property rights, judicial protection, or economic equality, the contradiction undermines institutional credibility.
And that can affect international perceptions.
It certainly can. It could make organizations providing foreign aid or investors looking for long-term social stability more hesitant. Genuine social equality is increasingly viewed as an essential component of sustainable investment.
Moving beyond the region, former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro has begun his 27-year prison sentence.
For leading an attempted coup d'etat.
Right. And our reports also noted his earlier detention attempt for trying to break his electronic ankle monitor.
Which just underlines the severity of the case. The successful prosecution and sentencing of a former head of state for this is a landmark moment for democratic governance in South America.
What kind of signal does that send?
It sends a powerful financial and political signal that even the highest political office holders are subject to the rule of law when democratic institutions are threatened. This kind of judicial accountability, while politically disruptive short-term, is fundamentally stabilizing in the long run.
How does it reassure investors?
It tells both domestic and international investors that Brazil's core governmental structures are resilient.
Okay, finally, we note significant internal political friction within the United States.
Yes.
The FBI will investigate 6 Congress members who requested military personnel to disobey what they deemed to be illegal orders from Donald Trump.
This is incredibly serious. The FBI probe indicates a formal investigation into potential attempts to subvert the established civilian military command structure.
It raises some fundamental questions.
It really does. Questions about political loyalty versus constitutional duty within the United States government. The investigation itself, regardless of the outcome, introduces an element of institutional instability and political risk at the highest level,
forcing analysts to consider
the potential for unprecedented constitutional crises in the world's largest economy.
Now, on a more constructive diplomatic note, there's been security cooperation between the United States and El Salvador.
Right, the helicopter.
Exactly. The United States delivered 2 helicopters to El Salvador. And this action was explicitly noted as recognition for El Salvador's active support in complex regional security operations.
Specifically in Haiti. This transaction is strategically important for two reasons. First, it directly enhances El Salvador's technical and operational capabilities, which bolsters its security forces.
And the second reason?
Second, and perhaps more importantly, it frames El Salvador as a key regional security partner for the United States. It acknowledges its active role in regional stabilization.
And that cooperation can lead to other benefits.
Often does. It strengthens bilateral ties and can unlock further opportunities for economic aid and trade facilitation down the line.
Okay, let's shift our focus now to the incredibly fast-moving world of global markets. Let's talk about the dramatic volatility surrounding high-value technology and artificial intelligence.
A lot happening here.
We have seen a significant market correction recently. Wall Street fell, and it was dragged down specifically by the technology sector.
And the anxiety is centered on valuations.
Concerns over inflated valuations and growing fears of an AI bubble. The feeling is that the market's enthusiasm may have outpaced the immediate deliverable returns.
The downturn is acute, especially in the high-growth chip sector. This isn't just a correction, it's a recalibration driven by competition and doubts about market concentration.
What kind of drop are we seeing?
We've seen a key chip maker stock fall nearly 12% in the last month alone.
And the reason isn't a lack of AI adoption?
No, not at all. It's increasing skepticism about the sustainability of its current near monopoly on high-performance AI infrastructure.
And that near monopoly is being actively challenged by major players. What specific moves are driving this competition?
The critical pressure point involves diversification strategies from key institutional customers. We have reports that Meta Platforms is actively considering increasing its reliance on Google-designed TPUs.
Tensor processing units.
Exactly. Instead of exclusively relying on one hardware supplier, this shift is highly significant.
Why is a customer like Meta diversifying so important?
For a customer of Meta's scale, diversifying their hardware supply is a strategic imperative. It's about reducing cost dependency and securing resilient supply chains. This immediately puts pressure on established leaders, as their largest customers are actively looking for alternatives.
And at the same time, Google itself is showing a kind of awakening in generative AI.
They are. The positive market reception of its Gemini 3 model really solidifies its efforts to compete fiercely against other industry leaders.
Google is capitalizing on its integrated ecosystem.
It is, accelerating its own specialized processor manufacturing efforts to support its software advances. The message is clear. The hardware market for AI is becoming fiercely contested. We're moving away from single-source dependence.
So how did the primary market leader respond to this evident shift in the competitive landscape?
The company issued a public communication to analysts asserting that their business model remains, quote, economically solid.
Trying to reassure the market.
That was the intent. However, this unusual public assertion was interpreted by some analysts not as reassurance, but as a defensive posture.
Which can backfire.
In volatile markets, it can sometimes exacerbate investor anxiety instead of calming fears. It just illustrates the fragility of market sentiment when valuations are already high and competitive pressure is mounting.
And beyond the giants of hardware, the competition is broadening into practical application. IBM is highlighting a highly differentiated strategy.
Right, they're not just focusing on models and experimentation.
They are centering their approach on the difficult but crucial task of implementation and return on investment, or ROI, for businesses.
This is a critical maturation point for the entire AI sector. IBM is leveraging its complete range of technologies and its deep enterprise relationships to help companies move past the theoretical experimentation phase.
And into concrete, financially justifiable deployments.
Exactly. This shift from pure research excitement to mandatory business ROI indicates that the AI market is fundamentally maturing. It's demanding practical, bottom-line results, not just conceptual development.
Now, from AI to crypto, a landmark financial product launch this week marks a historic moment for the cryptocurrency sector and, you could argue, for traditional finance as well.
This is a big one.
Grayscale launched the very first Dogecoin spot ETF, ticker GDOG, on the NYSE Arca in the United States.
The significance of this is revolutionary. I mean, think about it. Dogecoin began its life as a self-declared meme coin.
An asset that deliberately lacked utility.
Exactly. It was based primarily on community enthusiasm and internet culture. Its inclusion in a regulated traditional financial vehicle, a spot ETF, grants unprecedented legitimacy to non-utility digital assets. assets.
So this is a major structural acceptance.
It is a major acceptance by the regulated financial sector, and it really blurs the lines between what we call serious assets and novelty tokens.
So what was the immediate market reaction to institutionalizing what was essentially a joke asset?
The market reacted immediately and positively. The price of DOGE saw a notable increase of over 5% in a single day following the launch.
And Grayscale used some aggressive strategies to ensure its success.
They did. They're waiving fees on the first $1 billion in entries.
$1 billion.
A tactic designed to rapidly establish liquidity, draw in institutional capital, and secure market share in this new category. It shows institutional eagerness to capture the interest in these assets, even non-traditional ones.
And from a technical analysis standpoint,
the ETF introduction effectively reversed previous downward pressure that had been exerted by whales, large holders who can manipulate price. The ETF established technical signals suggesting that the asset may be entering a sustained accumulation phase.
So it's attracting a new wave of institutional liquidity.
A wave that sees the ETF structure as a safe, regulated entry point into the volatile world of meme coins.
Okay, let's conclude our deep dive with a review of some significant global, social, and cultural stories. Internationally, we have to report on 2 tragic incidents.
Okay.
33 people died due to severe floods in Thailand. This really highlights the persistent danger of climate-related weather extremes in Southeast Asia. And separately, at least 13 people died in a large residential skyscraper fire in Hong Kong, underscoring the risks associated with dense urban housing.
2 terrible tragedies.
They are. In cultural news, the Miss Universe pageant, a high-profile global event, is facing some serious controversy.
What's happening there?
Thailand ordered the arrest of the Miss Universe co-owner due to an alleged fraud case.
Wow.
So that places the entire organization under intense legal and public scrutiny. And separately, the winner, Fatima Basha Mexico, is publicly denouncing attacks she's receiving on social media following her triumph.
Highlighting the ongoing issue of online harassment directed at public figures.
It is. And finally, we have to note a critical global health alert issued by the United Nations.
That's it.
The organization warned that the global response to AIDS has suffered its most significant setback in decades.
A setback? Why?
This major regression is attributed directly to reductions in international funding and a widespread lack of global solidarity. It highlights a failure to sustain critical long-term public health efforts amid competing global crises.
That's deeply concerning. Okay, to conclude this extremely detailed deep dive, here is a 60-second summary of the 3 most important conclusions drawn from our analysis.
Go ahead.
First, national fiscal pressure. El Salvador is navigating an intensely demanding fiscal environment. This is clearly evidenced by the high debt ratio, where the government owes $90 for every 100 the economy generates, and the immense administrative task of financing political processes, like the $172.1 million requested for the 2027 elections. This pressure demands robust revenue. The resilience is evident in sectors like high-value coffee exports.
Okay, that's number 1.
Second, global AI market maturation. The artificial intelligence infrastructure sector is entering a fierce competitive phase. The market dominance of existing hardware suppliers is being actively challenged, not just by competitors like Google, but critically by their own largest customers, such as Meta. This active search for alternatives, combined with fears of an AI bubble, signals that the market is prioritizing practical application, ROI, and supply chain resilience over concentrated technological supremacy.
And the third takeaway.
Third, institutionalizing crypto and meme coins. The launch of the first Dogecoin spot ETF in the United States by Grayscale marks a historic and profound shift. This action grants unprecedented legitimacy and traditional financial access to digital assets that were once purely non-utility meme coins. This institutional integration attracts a new wave of liquidity and signals a significant, permanent change in how regulated markets perceive and manage the risks associated with the entire cryptocurrency asset class.
Thank you for joining us for this extensive analysis. We truly appreciate your time and attention to these complex national and international issues.
And we want to reiterate the importance of your contributions to keep this detailed coverage going.
Please consider supporting our work through PayPal, the Bitcoin QR code, or by visiting the comprehensive support link located in the description.
That link provides all the ways to support the podcast and allows you to explore more of our content.
Remember to follow us, share this deep dive with others who value meticulous analysis, and comment with your own insights on the developments we discussed today. We look forward to having you with us for our next conversation and reflection. Goodbye.